You know how Marvel movies have been completely inaccurate to the source constantly? Characters being changed, backstories being changed, the overall stories in general, character motivations, what the character looks like, everything transformed beyond recognition in so many cases. And some of us have been like, this seems deliberate. I don't think they want to make the fans happy. I think they're doing this on purpose. Well, they really are. This is real. Okay, so this comes to us from Bounding Into Comics, and they said Marvel Studios producer considers it a red flag if prospective writers are fans of original comics, prefers to hire someone who's out of the culture. This isn't even just Marvel. We're seeing this everywhere. In the gaming industry, it's rampant. You know, I talk about Lara Croft like every single day almost because I'm obsessed. But I digress. Anyway, yeah, that's what's happened. They've completely transformed the entire franchise beyond recognition, gameplay, Lara Croft, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of around that time, 2013-ish, we started seeing this become a more popular thing. But I think at that time it was just, oh, okay, this is something fresh. This is a new spin on things. Let's give it a chance. It's fun for what it is, And then after a while, it's like, wait a minute. Are they not going to bring us Lara Croft back ever? Are they not going to recognize some of our favorite characters among all nerd fandom ever? Is this actually a real permanent change? Oh, no. And yeah. There has been an agenda behind this kind of stuff for a long time. And I think this is one of those cases where we're seeing in entertainment where they kind of, a lot of the peeps don't align, people in charge of this kind of stuff, especially since, wokeism, the religion of wokeism has taken over the entertainment industry as a whole. They're like, wait a minute, all this stuff we're making movies about, based off comic books or other video games or this, that, and the other. Wait a minute, that's not woke enough for me. Let's redo it. Let's make it, transform it beyond recognition, and let's let the past versions of these get forgotten altogether. That's what I personally think is the goal of a lot of these peeps. But let's go ahead and read this article and see what the tea is. So, as if it wasn't enough for simply watching any of the studio's post-Infinity War output, producer Nate Moore has revealed that he believes the key to Marvel Studios' success is hiring writers who are out of the comic book culture over anyone who loves the source material. So this isn't even just saying we want to hire people who aren't fans, of Thor, for example. Let's use Thor. Of Thor specifically. It looks like they are wanting to hire people who aren't fans of of original comics altogether. So they don't want somebody who's ingrained in the actual culture and who actually knows their stuff and who can actually help deliver something that fans will, actually want to see. So yeah, interesting. And we've seen this with Netflix as well. And I've covered this on videos with The Last of Us, with that dreadful looking TV show they're coming out with, and how they told the actors, don't play the games, don't watch the cutscenes, we don't even want you to know what's going on. Talk about red flag. That's a red flag. And to me, the reason why, and they want to act like, oh, we don't want them to just mimic the performances of the previous voice actors in this case. I don't think it really is that. I think what it is that if they were actually versed on the material, then they're going to see how inaccurate it is, and they're going to see all the changes, and they're not going to like it. And this is their way, the producer's way of not having to deal with any sort of interference. Let's look at, what's going on with like The Witcher, for example, and Henry Cavill, who was a huge fan of The Witcher, and how much he had to fight them on stuff. Wait a minute, this isn't accurate, that isn't accurate, we need this, we need that, can we change this, can we change that? And because these actual writers and producers, since they don't actually care about the properties that they are portraying. They don't want people who do care to be a part of it, because then they're going to have a problem with it. This is all adding up. The pieces are coming together. All right, so Moore, whose career has seen him serve as a producer for such Marvel Cinematic Universe entries as Captain America Civil War, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and most recently Black Panther Wakanda Forever, shared his insight into Marvel Studios' hiring philosophy during an appearance on the November 16th episode of The Ringers The Town podcast. I don't know why I almost read that as Rings of Power, but here we are. Good morning. All right, speaking with host Matthew Baloney, that's an awesome name, about his general experience working for Disney subsidiary, timestamp 17 minutes in. Moore was eventually asked if there was some kind of a Marvel boot camp or something that you do with these filmmakers to ingratiate them into this world and knowing all the things that they need to know, to which the producer confirmed, not really. Interesting. Noting that some Marvel writers grew up reading and collecting comics, such as Avengers Endgame co-director Joe Russo and Black Panther director Ryan Coogler, Moore told Baloney, one thing I think is interesting, and specifically for writers, I would say, is that a lot of times we're pitched writers who love Marvel. And to me, that's always a red flag. Why? We can't have nice things, man. We just can't. Offering up an example of what he was looking for in prospective writers, Moore then pointed to Captain America trilogy writers Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, who were comic guys coming up, but were like, wait, Captain America? This seems a bit weird. What if we kind of looked at it in this way? And they weren't married to anything. Nothing was sacrosanct, recalled the producer. I think that's important to be able to go, look, the source material is great and I love it, and comics work great in the medium they were built in, but that's not a direct one-to-one translation to the best version of the movie, he asserted. And sometimes it takes someone who's out of the culture to go, hey, I know you think it should be this, but maybe it should be this other thing. Okay, well, I will say that when you are portraying a story or a character of something from like a comic book or a video game, doing an exact one-to-one translation really isn't always ideal. So that is a valid argument, but I think that they, in many cases, are using this argument, but not actually, but that's not actually their motivation. I think a lot of the motivation is to change the source material because they don't like it for whatever reason. In some cases, like, Thor, how dare you have a white man in a role, leading role? I mean, they got to somehow try to make a joke out of him type thing, so on and so forth with a bunch of these characters. I really think that's a lot that has to do with it. And, speaking of Tomb Raider, for example, and when you think about movies too, and I've said this time and time again, is when you're making something based off a video game or a comic book, a movie, okay? Movies in particular. I'm not even talking about video games. That's another discussion. But if you're making a movie based on an original video game or a comic book, then no, I think it's more fun when you create a new story instead of tell one that we've already read or played in a game. So, for example, Tomb Raider, one thing I like about like the old Tomb Raider, the first Tomb Raider movie, I should say, the Angelina Jolie one. I didn't like Cradle of Life, and I have many reasons. But I'll spare you. But I do like, that they created their own adventure for Lara Croft to go on. They didn't just take a game and retell that whole story. I don't like to see that because I don't like seeing them just tell the story of the game because I've already been there, done that. I'd rather see a new adventure. So that much is fair. However, This isn't just what we're experiencing. This goes things are so much deeper than this. They're changing the core fundamentals of characters. They're changing their entire motivations. They're changing their entire personalities. They're even changing their entire appearances. So that's a whole different story. All right, so let's continue. Turning to provide further support for his argument, Moore then put forth Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder director as a great example of that too, because he was like, hey, I know Thor traditionally is a bit stiff, a bit Shakespearean, but what if you tweaked it? What if you tweaked the tone completely? Well, this is an example of poor Thor, man. He got thrown under the bus because they wanted him to fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe more so than actually respect his character for the most part. Now, it's just, and that's kind of why, we need a funny, goofy guy. Let's make Thor and Hulk these goofy comic relief characters instead, because everybody, the tone is too serious. So they cared more about how they fit into the overall cinematic universe than actually portraying them accurately. The tone of Ragnarok is all Taika because he wasn't married to Thor on the page, concluded the producer, believing himself to be complimenting the director rather than hitting the nail on the head as to why many fans have been turned off by YTT's take on the God of Thunder. I haven't read every Thor book. I have read a lot. I couldn't tell you of a run that is tonally anything like Ragnarok, he says. Marvel Studios' latest film, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, is now playing theaters. Okay. All right, well, this is where we're at with entertainment right now. And the thing that they're doing, though, is they are producing movies or continuing video game legacies or comic book legacies and so on and so forth of existing characters that we all know and love because they want our money. But do they want to make us happy? Do they like the characters that they're portraying that we already love? No, they don't like a lot of them because they go against their new woke religion, and you can't have that. So let's just completely rewrite everything. That seems to be what's going on, but that's my opinion. Let me know yours in the comments below. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I will catch you next time, and in the meantime, go boom.